Well, one of the things I'm still explaining the concept of Vinovest to my friends because they're like, wait, what is this? It's like a virtual wine cellar. Wait, it's like a wine portfolio. And yes, yes, and yes, all of the above.
Yeah.
But I was explaining this to Colin on our team. He's a 23, 24-year-old and obviously just getting started in his investment journey. He's like, wait, how's this work? And then he's like, well, why don't you just buy the wine and put it in your cellar? Because we have a cellar in our house.
Hmm.
And I said, well, actually, and I'd love to fact check this with you. I go, actually, I believe that makes it less valuable because like if I take DRC, that, one of the most famous wineries in the world in France, and now I ship that to my house, that's assuming I could even get on the list, which is near
Hmm.
impossible. Now there's no track record of how, when that wine went from France to Kansas, was it temperature controlled?
Yep.
Did somebody hijack it and swap it out for a fake case of wine? Because there's no like authentication. And what you all do, if you look at like, I believe one of your wine storage facilities is the same as the British royal family where they store their wine. Is that fair?
Hmm. Yep. At Octavia.
So
Yep.
now it goes direct from winery to professional wine storage facility where it's temperature controlled, insured, authenticated. And I think especially like some of the high-end bottles now almost have like a UPC barcode over the cork, right?
Yep.
But walk us through that as more of like the investment, like here's how we maintain the value of the investment along the way and kind of the checks and balances that are required on that front.
Yeah, that's a really important topic, right? Because a lot of people, especially people with wine cellars, are like, why can't I just store it at home, right? And I liken it to driving a car off the lot, right? It immediately will lose a ton of value, 30 to 50%, because I don't know how you stored it at home, right? You could have had a power outage. You could have said you put it in a wine fridge, but actually didn't, right? And there's so much risk that the counterparty is taking on when they're pretty much just taking your word for it. So when we store in these third-party bonded storage facilities, right, they're really required to keep the records, right? And they're also, that's why insurance policies are able to also, cover that because they trust these third parties that have been operating. They have a full-time staff 24/7 monitoring around, keeping that temperature and humidity level consistent. So when we're able to have that level of trust in our chain of supply and custody, when somebody like an auction house comes and sees our condition of the wine, they know that they're going to be able to go to their buyers and say, hey, this is stored, straight from winery to warehouse. It hasn't moved since, and it has only had one owner or two owners, right? And this is going to fetch the highest retail price because it presents the least risk to the end consumer on the condition and authenticity of that bottle.
Well, and I feel like you're also creating a marketplace for wine because there was originally Vinovest 1.0, which was, hey, I send 50K or 100K to Vinovest, and then they kind of build a portfolio of wine. Now you actually have a marketplace where I could have wine and you actually swap ownership, but it never leaves the facility. It just transfers from my account to another person's account, almost like StockX for shoes, except the wine's not being sent anywhere. It's just transferring ownership, right? Is that fair?
You're exactly right. So that was the second product that we launched, is being able to have our existing client base be able to pretty much trade wine with each other, right? And be able to exit positions if they like, be able to take on, a heavier position on a particular wine or region if they really believe in it. So now we have the equivalent of a self-directed account and then a managed account for our investors to be able to choose from.
Cool. You said a word that I want to go back to because one of the things financial advisors that build holistic plans talk a ton about is not just returns, but taxation and how to do proactive tax planning. You said bonded. And will you explain what bonded means in the world of wine?
Yeah, so bonded warehouse or bonded storage is huge when it comes to the world of wine, collectibles, art in general, because a lot of times when you're buying these items, you're buying them from all around the world, right? In this case, primarily from Europe. And if you're looking at it for an investment purpose or even from an eventual consumption purpose, you don't want to pay the VAT or the sales tax right away. right? So storing it bonded allows you to be able to defer the VAT or the sales tax indefinitely until it gets taken out of bond. So you could conceivably say this bottle of wine that was $250, sales tax included, you could probably buy it for $220 in bond, and sell it to another investor down the line, say for $400 in bond. And only when someone's eventually looking to consume it, so whether it be a restaurant or a consumer, they would have to pay those taxes at the end. So by deferring those taxes, it's a really efficient strategy, especially for investors in the wine, collectibles, and art world, to be able to maximize their returns. And then also for the eventual consumer, say you wanted to, a special anniversary bottle, right? You wanted to buy something that's, that's 20 years old. It's a $2,000 bottle. If you buy it in bond versus buying it, out of bond, there's a pretty big difference in the form of the VAT that you can be able to save money on as well there. And that's usually 15 to 20%.